important and interesting in this context to compare what the Scripture teaches us, what the Word teaches us, with what evolution would like to claim. And so what you have as the dialogue is continuing today is that people who are materialistically oriented would say that this is a dialogue of religion versus science, creation being religion and evolution being science. I would rephrase that. Today it's a dialogue between true science and science fiction, evolution being the science fiction. Now, what do I mean by that? What the Bible presents is a very clear definitive that each is descended from its own kind. Now, evolution would try to argue that presented initially by some accident, we had the development of the slime mold, and the slime mold successively evolved into something like a human being. In order to substantiate such a claim, you have to be able to make a transition from one kind to another kind. You have to be able to go from a chimpanzee to a human being. You have to be able to go from a lizard to a chimpanzee. And to justify such a claim, you have to have evidence. Well, one of the self-evident things is we know, for example, that the chimpanzee and all of the primate brains are 400 cc's. And we know the human brain is 1200 cc's. So if you want to make the claim that you are proceeding from an ape to a human being, and that it is coming about by systematic perfection, which violates all the laws of physics, you have to be able to show some evidence that an ape is transforming from a 400 cc brain to a 1200 cc brain. And the evidence is non-existent. There's no evidence of these transformations going from one kind to another, and all the evidence is completely consistent with each after its own kind.
Virtually all of the proposed missing links between apes and humans have been soundly discredited, from the outright fabrications to those that were the object of wishful thinking. In almost all cases, fossil fragments are discovered and heralded as missing links, with the artist's conception presented in the press, museums, textbooks, and journal articles with great artistic license taken. For example, in 1922, Harold Cook found one tooth in Nebraska and declared it to be a missing link, dubbed Nebraska Man. The Illustrated London News published the artist's conception of an entire ape-like man and his wife just from the tooth. It was subsequently discovered to be the tooth of an extinct pig. In 1856, fossils found in the Neander Valley near Dusseldorf, Germany, were presented as a 30,000-year-old ancestor of modern humans. In 1909, a relatively complete skeleton of a Neanderthal was found in La Chapelle-Lancet, France. Artist conceptions were published that showed Neanderthal man as a very ape-like creature. Since that time, it has been found that culturally, the Neanderthals were exactly the same as modern humans, burying their dead with flowers, painting, making and using musical instruments, using language, poetry, etc. Moreover, the brain capacity of their skull vault was found to be on average 1,600 cubic centimeters, which is 200 cubic centimeters larger than most human brain capacities. A longtime science writer, Boyce Rosenberger, explains it this way in Science Digest in 1981.
Unfortunately, the vast majority of artists' conceptions are based more on imagination than on evidence. But a handful of expert natural history artists begin with the fossil bones of a hominid and work from there. Much of the reconstruction, however, is guesswork. Bones say nothing about the fleshy parts of the nose, lips, or ears. Artists must create something between an ape and a human being. The older the specimen is said to be, the more ape-like they make it. Hairiness is a matter of pure conjecture. The guesswork approach often leads to